Hello, and welcome to the Grand Cinema Hotel, a podcast hosted by three friends who love cinema. I'm Gus, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Nate and Alvaro. Tonight, you'll be staying in Room 122, The Worst Person in the World, a Norwegian romantic dramedy directed by Joe Trier. So go ahead, get comfortable, and throw on that Do Not Disturb sign as we meet the worst person in the world.
What's going on, all you indecisive relationship hoppers? Thanks for checking back into the Grand Cinema Hotel. If you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to smash that like button and comment and subscribe. Tell your friends about it. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, or anywhere else, hit that subscribe button. Let the notifications tell you when we drop some heat. So anyways, this week we're doing The Worst Person in the World. Finally, 7 months later, I think we finally got our hands on it, but this movie was definitely worth the wait. What do you guys think about it?
I definitely think that this movie was worth the wait. It did take forever, right?
It really did.
We did miss our chance to see it in the theater because it was playing around us, but we got a little too caught up in the Batman. It was playing around that time, but obviously we were busy doing other things like seeing the Batman 4 or 5 times.
Priorities.
Yeah, priorities, right? Get Batman to $1 billion.
Go watch it again.
Yeah, definitely. I guess we're telling you to watch this movie and the Batman as many times as you can.
For real.
I saw this movie on Prime Video. It kind of came out of nowhere, right? We decided to do this episode 2 days ago.
We were going to do Dune again.
I know, right? Because, if you're listening to this, we're recording this pre-Oscars, but the Oscars is tonight. That's another reason why we decided to do this movie as well, because it does have some nominations. But yeah, we were going to do Dune again, all the way up until Friday at 6 p.m., right?
Hit a little skirt, but yeah.
And if you're listening to this post-Oscars, maybe it's won some by now.
Maybe this shit won. Who knows?
I guess,
hopefully.
Do you guys want to predict that? Do you think it'll win Best International or Best Original Screenplay? Those are the two nominations.
I think it could definitely win Best International. I don't know. I feel like everybody's talking about Drive My Car, but
what do you think, Ro,
I don't know.
between Drive My Car and The Worst Person in the World?
Which one I like more?
Well, no, what do you think's going to win? I'm pretty sure you like this one more, right?
Yeah, I think Drive My Car was going to take international because it's on the general. Mm-hmm. It's the only, or I don't know if it's the only, my bad, but it's on the general ballot for Best Picture. And I think this might have a shot at original screenplay.
Yeah.
I could see that.
I could see it winning screenplay. It is very original in the things that it does and the different, devices it uses. So
it would be my choice for it, but right at the top of my head, I can't remember. I think Parallel Mothers is in there too. There's good ones in there, but off the top of my head, this would be mine.
So you've seen Parallel Mothers as well. Do you think that Parallel Mothers would beat this? Because I know Penelope Cruz is getting a lot of buzz that she's going to win Best Actress. Mm-hmm. You can bet. You can straight up bet on this stuff, and her odds have shot up in the last 2 weeks.
Caesar Sportbook.
Yeah, with
crazy.
Yeah. There's Vegas odds for it.
That's crazy.
I didn't know either.
It's really interesting.
I guess paying more attention to it, but I know that Renat won at Cannes, right? So I feel like that should have some boost for it, but I don't think it does. Penelope Cruz does a really good job in Parallel Mothers, but I just think this movie as a whole is so much more original, and I honestly don't know. I think Renat did a really good job. So,
if we learned anything this year from Cannes versus the Oscars, is that they're on two different
totally different vibes.
Titan and then Titan won, and then Renate won for
Best Actress.
Yeah. They're just on a different level.
Exactly.
Which I think maybe I like Cannes more than I like the Oscars. I know they're two completely different things. One's a film festival and one's an award show, but they have awards and they tend to line up more with what what our interests are.
I think they shine the light on the stuff that we prefer. So
I also don't like that all of a sudden Kristen Stewart's just not really talked about anymore.
Yeah, she's fell off the face and I really did before the Oscars. She had so much hype for the past 4 months, I feel like, and then I haven't seen a whole lot.
Every awards body had voted her as the Best Actress, and she's probably not going to win.
And stuff just changed real quick. We talked about Penelope Cruz got a surge all of a sudden, which would be fine for her to win, but I just feel like that's almost for her other work with the same director. They've worked together for so long. But this the movie is really good, but I don't think it's better than this movie.
I've seen some people say that it's a career Oscar, kind of like how Leo got it for The Revenant, even though there's more deserving roles. where it's like, how come he didn't win for Wolf of Wall Street, or how come he didn't win for like The Aviator or something like that,
Yeah.
you know? And it's, but they gave it to him for The Revenant, which you could argue is one of his like weaker movies, right?
Exactly.
They try to
So-
make up for the past misgivings.
Yeah, exactly. Or like Denzel winning it way later than he should have because they didn't give it to him when he did have like the best performances,
Yeah.
you know? But anyways,
Yeah.
talking about this movie, it's just the Oscars, you know. We thought about doing an Oscars episode.
Yeah, we did talk
but-
about it.
There's not enough.
Fuck the Oscars,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, honestly, right? I like them until I don't.
Yeah.
And movies are so subjective and we feel so strongly about them that, like, say Coda wins tonight, right? Like, I know a lot of people are going to be angry about that, and it's because art is so subjective, you know. Like, there's nothing like that you can rank it by other than like feelings and
Yeah.
how like your emotions are about a certain movie. So if your emotions are not with a certain movie, it's like you think it fucking sucks. And like, there's
Exactly.
going to be people like that about everything. Like, I know we're going to be mad if Power of the Dog.
I'm gonna fucking
Power of the Dog
riot,
wins,
dude.
right?
Oh my god. I think it
But-
might too. Oh god.
Yeah, so I thought it would be best to just stay away from that stuff because
Yeah.
obviously there's quite a few things we haven't seen, so
Yeah,
it'd be kind of
true.
boring, right?
But I will say that I'm glad that they have decided to highlight this movie.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
See, so it's like these are some of the good things they do, but for the most part, they're just so out of touch with what
They really are.
most.
I would rather just do a post Oscars episode and rip apart everything that they did.
We could do our
That's
own
wrong.
award show. We should do our own award
Yeah.
show next time because it'd be like, oh wow, the nominations are The Green Knight, Teton. Be like,
Yeah, exactly. It's like, who the fuck?
Dune would win Best Picture in
Dude,
our
yeah,
award
that's
show.
really
You know what I mean?
Maybe that'd be a good idea. I think so.
So yeah, let's talk about the movie.
All right, let's hop into it.
First thoughts, Ro, do you want to go first? You've seen this movie before us.
Yeah.
Now that you've had some time to sit with it more and you've seen it twice.
I mean, it was my favorite for last year. Was lucky enough to watch it last year. Yeah, I mean, it hit the same way it did for me the first time that I watched it. I think it's a very simple story, but I think what it talks about and the themes that it addresses that we'll later address, I think they just really stand out in terms of me not seeing that in cinema very much. And so I really, really like this movie, and it like resonated with me.
This is a literally me movie for a generation.
Yeah, right. Like, I'm just the worst.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this movie is so relevant to like the time we live in, and it definitely is like a mirror, like pointing back at us. And sometimes movies do that where they just resonate with people so hard because it's like, wow, this literally has happened to me, or I've been on one end or the other of this movie, and I just think it speaks to today's not youth, but like
People.
yeah, like today's people. You know what I mean? It's just a very general thing that happens just to so many, and then to see it in this way, it just felt so real. Like, I thought it felt more like a documentary of
Yeah.
watching someone's life that was like beautifully shot than it actually being a movie.
I would agree. I think the way that I would describe this movie is it's almost like a character study that's disguised as like a romantic comedy. I think a lot of romantic comedies, like, I don't know, a lot of them, I mean, I enjoy them. A lot of them are kind of cheap and like, you know, follow the same tropes. But this movie, I felt like it was very real and it was very grounded, and it focused on a lot of what I think a lot of what life is a lot of like mundane, like tasks, like day after day stuff. Like, it's like day by day. It doesn't really focus on these major like life circumstances until really the end, I think. And you just kind of get like a view into this person's life, and you see that the challenges that she deals with and the challenges that the people around her deal with and the positions that she puts the people that she loves in. It really just focused on like the human experience and how people grow. And I think it's a beautiful movie. I loved it.
I hate to do this to this movie for it to have this comparison, but I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to. Is that this reminded me of like Woody Allen movies, like Annie Hall and things
Yeah.
like that, where
I've seen that, yeah.
it's like, sorry.
No, it's true. It really is.
Bad having to throw that on you, but it is what it is. Is that was one of the main movies I thought of while watching this, and I think what you said about romantic comedies being a little cheesy, I think it's because they're heavier on the comedy than
For
they
sure.
are the romance, and you don't really get to see the relationships play out. Like in those movies, I just feel like it becomes so like too jokey, or it doesn't feel real anymore. You know, it feels
Yeah, like this
sitcom.
would never happen. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
Like really.
I think that's what I meant in terms of like when I do see it, it's Hollywood depicted, and that's what it is. You know, we get I can't even think of some like Make a Playlist. What's the name of that movie? Like I don't know. I'm just.
Is it Zach and Nora's
Infinite Playlist or
Playlist,
something
and
like
like
that?
they make stuff like that, you know, which I'm not like talking down on. That's like a feel good in
Nick
a
and Nora.
different
I
way.
like that movie.
I do
Oh,
too.
Nick and Nora. I
Nick
said
and Nora.
Zach and
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, like
Zack and
I
Miri.
like it too, but it's like it's a different type of like rom com where you get stuff like 50 Days of Summer, stuff
Right.
like that. But it is very glamorized because maybe it's and that's what I did like about this movie. It's a coming of age of like coming like youth becoming adults or like adults who still are still growing type of like that age group.
That's a good point. I think that's a good point. Like this movie doesn't necessarily like it's a romantic movie, but I think what it does different than what other romantic comedies do is it doesn't romanticize the relationships as much. Like it shows you the honest truth, and I really like that about it.
One of the things that I found really interesting is halfway through the movie, or maybe not even halfway, but you could find yourself be like, do I like the protagonist that I have in front of me? Like, but then I think Gus made a good point. Like, you'll find like, I actually know somebody like this, or I am this person, or I know somebody like the other two characters that are in this movie, and then it just kind of becomes, well, like, this is more realistic than any other character that I could see depicted in these movies. Like, oh, this guy's always like just a good guy. But like, well, sometimes, and I think people are like that. You shift what you want depending on what stage of your life you're in, and then. Yeah, I mean, we'll get more into it, but
the title of the movie is incredibly like over exaggerated,
For sure.
and dramatic,
For sure.
because you could argue she doesn't do one thing wrong in this movie. It's just her life choices that she makes.
What I think is interesting about this movie is like I think the title comes from her own probably point of view. You know what I mean? And like she isn't the worst person in the world, but I don't know where I was going with that.
She's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah,
even
no,
though
she really is.
She doesn't do anything that's necessarily wrong.
What I wanted to say is you just see like this whole movie is based off her choices. Like it's the choices that she makes and where she goes with it, and you can tell that a lot of those choices don't and leave her happy.
Yeah.
And I think that's why she labels herself as that, because she is so self-destructive. So
Definitely. I mean, I don't know if it's just this generation. Maybe our parents' generation felt this way too. But so many people are just so unhappy with wherever they are in life. And it's because they always think that they're going to be like, or that they should be going somewhere else or doing something different.
Right.
And like, when is my life going to start? And it's like, well, for our protagonist, she's 29, about to turn 30. It's like, what do you mean? When is your life going to start? Like, your life started already.
You're in the middle
you're
of it.
You're missing out on it by worrying so much about what's going to happen in the future. And there's a line later on in this movie
it's
about
a great line.
Oh, I was always worried about what's going to happen in the future, but I was always worried about the wrong
Yeah,
things.
but whatever happened wasn't what I was worrying about.
Yeah,
it's so relatable too.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, everyone knows like the thing you're worried about right now in 5 years, you're going to look back on it and be like, what was I?
Yeah, like think, yeah, exactly.
Or you won't even remember that you were worried about it.
For sure. No, I think it's a really good point.
Or the title, I think, does come from what you guys are talking about, like her maybe feeling that way. Or I think it's you could feel that way even as a person if you can relate to like you like unknowingly are being selfish for your pursuit of happiness. And that's what she's doing in this movie. And like she's dragging people along in that pursuit of happiness. And she feels like she's the worst because maybe she feels she's leading them on or she gave them the wrong idea. But that's just how her mind works and how people's mind work, or how you might feel at a certain moment. I know there's more people who are more set, but this is also a realistic persona that people have.
It's like the conundrum of like, in order to be happy, like you realistically have to see things out. Like you have to get to the end of something. Like if you just give up halfway through, like you're never going to complete anything. But at the same time, like from her perspective, if what she continuously is doing is not making her happy, then how do you see that out? So I think it's that weird little paradox of like, I need to see this out, but I'm not happy doing it. So what the fuck do I do?
And we get a line about that too in the movie where I think Axel tells her, like, you never see things through.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
She really doesn't.
Because, I mean, our character, Julie, played by Renate Reinsve. I'm trying to say that right. We're probably going to get it wrong for the rest of this, but apologies.
She's Julie.
Yeah, Julie. She had so many opportunities to be, like, successful, and she kind of throws them all away.
Yeah.
Like, she gets into medical school and she has really high grades.
Could be a
and she's
surgeon.
Super smart and she could be a surgeon, but that's too much. It's too concrete. It's like being a carpenter, she says, and that her passion is
The soul,
the mind,
To
like
psychology.
what goes on the insides, and then she wants to become a psychologist, and then actually I'm a visual person, and now I'm going to be a photographer, and then by the end of this, she just works in a bookstore and takes some photos on the side and maybe writes an article or two that gets published and sparks Facebook debates, which is kind of funny to me that in Norway in 2021 that Facebook is still like a huge topic of conversation. But I just think that I find her frustrating because it's like okay, maybe you didn't want to be a doctor, but these things that you like writing and photography, like these can also be hobbies that are very fulfilling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can have a work-life balance. And I think a lot of people in our generation are not, that's not something they like the idea of, you know what I mean? It's like, well, I want to get paid to do what I like instead of just enjoying doing it, which is
Right.
like, yes, everybody has a dream that they want to follow and stuff like that, but you can also find happiness in your life. And I think that's what you mean about like seeing things out as well. Like, I know it sounds stupid to say like you can choose to be happy, which is like, okay, well, if your brain chemistry is off, no, you
Yeah,
can't just
exactly.
choose that. But you can choose to see like the brighter side of things, or you can have a positive outlook even in bad situations.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe it doesn't fix you, but at least you're proactively trying to be happy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Instead of just like sitting in the muck.
All you can do is work on yourself and move
Yeah,
towards,
exactly.
the future.
And I feel like our main character doesn't really see that side of life. And I think maybe that's why I find her very frustrating, even
Yeah.
though there's a lot of reasons you could find her frustrating, but that is my main, I wouldn't say issue because it feels wrong to say that about, well, I guess it doesn't feel wrong. It's
No,
just
no,
like a
no.
fictional character.
Yeah, I mean, it's the truth. I mean, because I agree. I find her extremely frustrating. And I think it's a very interesting, protagonist to have in a movie as your main character, as somebody that you don't necessarily love. Like, I don't necessarily love her as a character, because of these frustrations and the choices that she makes. It's just almost like, what the fuck are you doing to yourself? Like, you know what I mean? But you really learn a lot about her. And I think that's what this movie really does, is give you that psychology behind the characters and kind of gets you to understand maybe why they have these issues and, and whatever. But then you kind of see towards the end of the movie, and she does kind of, I mean, you don't really know, but it seems like she kind of finds maybe a little bit of peace somewhere. So it's a really good movie.
I will say a lot of that, of what she's like, I think comes off explained, or just we get a hint of what I think the larger things of this movie are, but like with her dad, and the relationship that she has with her dad, and even the small little things that we get there. But I think that's where a lot of her, how she has her outlook on life and love life specifically, comes from. I was gonna tie it to something else. Just kind of lost my train of thought there, but
Well, she does have a lot of similarities to her dad, even though she dislikes him.
Exactly.
True.
She ends up being a lot like him in different ways, like not in an abandonment type of way, but that indecisiveness that she has,
And
or
not
the
being
always making
present.
excuses for
Yeah.
everything.
yeah.
That does definitely come from her dad, because we see her mom only a little bit in the movie, and her mom is just like your typical movie mom. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, she's super supportive. She doesn't really have anything bad to say to her. She's very loving, and what we see from the dad is totally different.
Yeah, totally different. Dude, the scene with the double jacket. Like, that's so
exactly.
funny. Oh,
And
my
that's
God.
I remembered my idea. The standout thing to me from this film is that usually in Hollywood movies, or even in any type, most movies, you get like the full circle of a character, right? And usually they are the same, but they've conquered. But I feel like we get the same character at the end here, like
Yeah.
that we did at the beginning, like someone, but at least just someone who seems more content to know what she's gone through. She did go through all the things that you said. She looked them through as much as she could, and it still didn't work out, but she's content now knowing that I am living my life. Like, this is my life. But I like that she's still in the same position. She doesn't have anybody. She's still by herself. And I think that was really interesting. Like, I guess you could call it roadmap of a character that I don't usually see too often.
And I do think that it is an interesting point that by the end of the movie that she is alone. Because it's the first time in the movie that she's not in a relationship. So
Yeah,
it's
she's
interesting.
quite friendly. She's got like 5 boyfriends in this movie.
Exactly. She's got like 3 or 4 of them in the prologue.
Definitely.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really want to open this can of worms, but I did tell my wife when we were watching this, I'm like, this movie, if this was about a dude, like, he really would be the worst person.
Yeah,
in the
he would
world,
be.
though.
He'd get flamed,
Yeah.
dude.
I don't think they would make this movie about a dude now. And I think maybe that's why it reminded me of the He Who Shall Not Be Named
Oh, yeah.
movies. But it's because he was an extremely frustrating character in a lot of his movies, and I just can't help but see the similarities.
I can
between
see
the
that.
two-
I can see it
the
now
two
that you
types
brought
of
it up,
movies,
yeah.
you know. But yeah, I just kind of thought that was funny. Like, man,
She
this
she
is a
does
guy,
really
we'd
like.
be like, this guy sucks.
She leaves like a pile of bodies behind her, dude. It's like a warpath.
It's just that's what happens on the journey of self-fulfillment,
Yeah.
I guess, right? Like, a lot of damage gets done in the way.
And at the end of the day, it's never anything completely mean. A lot of the time, she's respectful about it. Like, not with her main character necessarily, but in the beginning, like, it is what it is.
So I mean, it could come off wrong, or Like, as a guy, like, I do know a girl like this, or I've known a girl like this. But in the long terms of life, I think it doesn't have to do with like, or I mean, in the society that we live in right now, that's just gonna be, unfortunately, yeah. You
Fuck
leave
it,
some
man.
people
Let's
behind.
go full red pill on this episode.
We live in a society.
You know how women be.
No, but I mean, I think that's like the difference of being able to make films now. You could make a movie about this, like you said. If you make it about a guy now, he would really be the worst person. But we see it from a woman, and we do kind of know that it's like, yeah, just the tribulations of life, and sometimes you'll leave some bodies behind.
Leave some emotional bodies in your wake.
Exactly.
When you're attractive, right? That's like the whole thing, because she's, I mean, to each your own. But in the movie, everybody finds her really
attractive. She's really smart. Like,
Exactly,
she seems
she's
to
really
have
smart.
charisma. Like, and that's why I think it's interesting, because she is this person that has all this, these positive qualities about her. But I think one of her biggest flaws is you see when she gets into relationships. I think they even talk about it, or she brings it up. I think when she breaks up with Axel, is that she almost becomes like a mirror to the boyfriend. Like, she becomes a part of them and loses herself. And for whatever reason, like, who knows why, but if you can't have the ability to be yourself in a relationship, and you're gonna feel trapped, and you're not gonna feel like yourself, and it's never gonna end well. So, however you get over that, that's a problem that she has to deal with.
That's a big struggle for her, even in the movie, and I think that's why it resonates so well. Is that she doesn't even seem to be too set on who she is.
Mm-hmm.
We know, like you guys said, that she's smart. She's in medical school. We know that she could be creative, but she's not set on one thing. So the second that, like, she doesn't feel like herself, she starts to question, but what is myself?
Yeah, it's like she has the world at her fingertips. She has so much potential to do like whatever she wants, but she just doesn't know how to harness
just
it
don't
in a
know.
positive way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like you said, she is in medical school, but she can also be creative. She can also get articles published like on a whim. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I kind of just feel like writing. Oh, how about that? It got published.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the potential there is crazy, like, of how she could succeed in her life, but she's a self-sabotager in the worst way, honestly, because
true.
it's like she's happy and then she turns into Magic Johnson like, I'm not going to be here next year.
Because there's a line that stands out to me too, when she's later talking to Axel, and then she's like, I wish I was like you, and I would have known that, like, I was good at comics, so I could have just full throttled that, right?
Yeah, and so many people say that, you know what I mean? Like, oh, if I knew this 5 years ago, I'd be happy now.
Yeah.
And
Hindsight's a bitch.
and I think that's like a big thing in this movie about, like, hindsight, and maybe we'll get into it a little later.
We
to
get into
more
that
into
with
the
the
plot.
character of Axel.
Yeah.
Exactly, and I just think, like, that resonates. We're reaching that age of, like, being 30, so I think maybe this movie just hits too close. Maybe that's why I like it so much. But I think that there's certain aspects of it at the end, retrospectively looking at things, like, where I've met a lot of people, and even myself, in situations where, like, maybe that would have worked now, but that's just how life works. Like, you didn't, it's not now. It was before.
It's one
True that.
tough son of a bitch.
True that. True that. We want
Life
to
ain't easy, bro.
Exactly.
I did think we should introduce our characters, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, definitely.
So yeah. All right. Well, we talked about Julie.
Renate Reinsf.
Yeah. Let's talk about
Paul Thomas Anderson's in love with her.
I know. Do Maya Rudolph piss?
I should have made that.
Exactly.
I feel like he regrets making Licorice Pizza. He's like, I should have made
This
the
shit
worst person
fucking
in the world.
sucks.
Maybe it's because we're just more involved into, like, looking at stuff, but I don't think I've ever seen him be so excited for a movie. Like,
Like someone else's movie.
and maybe it's because it's not American, so maybe to him it feels like this is why I like movies. But for a director to be so, a movie that I really liked so much too, like, for him to be so fangirling over it, and Neon using it as
Their promotion.
Yeah, their promotion. Paul Thomas Anderson said this is. He even said your mom.
My mom brought it up. I was like, how do you know that?
Yeah, your mom's like, did you know Paul Thomas Anderson likes this movie?
Like, they must be talking about this on the news.
Name dropping. Yeah, but it's interesting.
All right. Well, yeah. Let's talk about Axel. Played by Anders Danielson Lai. I think he gave a really good performance. I think he's a really strong character. He seems like the kind of person that you would want to have a relationship with. He seems like he knows what he wants, and he's like the opposite of her almost. He's grounded, and you find out later that he does have he shares doubts that she does, but he just he handles them differently. Like, I think he's the kind of person where you're like, well, yeah, I'm scared, or like, yeah, I have doubts about this, but I'm going to do it because this is what I want. And I think that's what kind of separates them two. He's
more of a jump off the cliff into the water.
He really is.
Guy, instead of like, oh, I could get hurt, or what if this goes wrong? And he's like, well, I'm going to find out by jumping in,
And I think the movie uses their age gap as a lot to kind of to break that down, I guess, in
He's
a way.
like 15 to 14 years older than her.
Yeah, because she's like, what, 30, and he's like 40, 44 or something? Yeah. So.
And but I was gonna say that I found interesting about that is that he knew from the get-go that age difference was gonna be an issue, and that like he's gone through the tribulations that we see Julie going through, and like he's telling her like you're gonna have to go through those things, and we're not gonna match up, and then this is why this isn't gonna work long time. And she of course doesn't listen, because everybody at that age doesn't listen. But his age, like the wiseness that comes with time, like he becomes that person like you guys talking about, just ready to dive into the water, because he figured out that's the way he lives his life and the way that he became successful.
He's like, bruh, I've been through this like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, he's like,
already.
I've done this.
Like,
He was
you know
like,
how many multi-year relationships I've been in?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like he's used to this, and he already knows, like, I've already had my heart broken. Like, you're probably going to break my heart too, and like, but I guess I'll get into this, you know, because it's what he wants, and he can't help himself.
I really like the part, like what you had brought up.
Part of her charisma too. Sorry.
It is. The part that you brought up where he was telling Julie that, you know, this is why we're not going to work out, kind of towards the beginning of the relationship. And that was the reason that she ended up falling in love with him.
Toxic.
You know, well, yeah. And like, I think it's probably because, like, you know, he shows her what she doesn't have. Like, he can see that and he can understand that. And she's like, wow. You know, I want to be a part of this kind of thing. And I think that even later in the movie, he tells her, when they break up, he tells her that, like, you're going to regret this. And she's like, I know. And she kind of she's like, I know that this is going to happen, but I'm just going to do it anyways kind of thing, even though I know there might not be a solid end to this. So
he's her true love for sure.
100%.
Like, of all the people she dates in this movie, he's the only one that really connects with her on like a intellectual level. She says at one point, like, I still have conversations in my head with you about, and it's about dumb things like comics, but it's just like those things that stick with her for the rest of her life that, like you said, she knows she's making a mistake, but some people just have to, it's interesting that she'll see something like that through, right? Like, I'm going to go through with this mistake, but I don't want to go through with being happy.
Exactly. That's a good point.
I did think that's where the character becomes frustrating, because we see that she's in this relationship and maybe I guess she just gets bored of like the comfortability or being compared to, like, you're going to have a kid with Axel to become part of the family and not feel like an outcast. And she's not ready for that step. And thus she gets attracted to Ivan, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like in a whim of being the same age, of something new, something that feels very like you're not supposed to do this. I mean, they meet in a very interesting way. They meet in a non-cheating way, to the bare limit. Like, they're trying to see.
I'm like,
permissible.
Bro, I'm like, I think that might even be worse. Like, like if I found that, I'm like, you should have just smashed, dude. Like, that's terrible.
Because it's almost like we're just gonna do everything what we're allowed to do.
Like, you watched him pee? Like, that's
pretty sure that's not allowed. That's why there's stalls
That
in
is not
bathrooms.
permissible.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
I did too.
This is permissible
Is this
because of the language
permissible?
gap or whatever. Yeah, just like I'm sure that's not actually what they're saying, but for that
The translation's
is
really
so
funny.
Permissible.
Imagine like that's how you like are getting like intimate with the girl. Like, is this permissible? Yes, I find this permissible.
No, man.
Before we get to Ivan, though,
Yeah.
can we talk about that setting that you said where they go on the trip with Axel to go visit his friends, and
the
she
others,
finds herself to
yeah.
be very uncomfortable. Yeah, I thought it was funny that the others translated was DeAndre.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
Oh yeah, and
yeah,
that was
I know that
interesting.
word.
Cheap
I was telling my
champagne.
wife, I was like, maybe by the end of this, we'll know like at least 15 Norwegian things to say.
Hello.
But that scene of her, well, it's a long, like 15, 20 minutes. And I think that shows how well paced this movie is that she's on this 4-day trip and we get to see all 4 days of it. And maybe in a lesser movie, we would have just seen 1 or 2 days. Something big would have happened. And then it probably would have just cut to them being back in their apartment or something like that. But we spend this time with this, like, Axel's family, which later on, after they visit the dad, he tells her, like, you have to make your own family. And we see that he has his with his friends and their wives and kids and stuff like that. And it's framed in this really beautiful way. Like, I love seeing older people who are like super comfortable with themselves. You know what I mean? Like, just partying in the backyard with their kids and like dancing at night. And like, they're just, it's something Julie doesn't have. So it makes her very uncomfortable to see how these older people are just like so content with who
They're
they
truly
are, you know what
content,
I mean?
yeah.
And they're like enjoying their life. And I'm sure she's wondering like, how do I get there?
Yeah.
And I just think that's something that comes with age. But what I was going to say is that like I personally saw it in this very like delightful, warm way, but for Julie, it kind of feels like it turns into like a psychological thriller
Honestly.
for a second. You
Yeah,
know what I
it
mean? Where
does.
she's like, what is this? Like, I can't breathe. Like, this kid's hugging me. And Axel seems to be a lot more comfortable with this. But for Julie, this is just, this is a no-go.
It's
You
not
know
what
I
she.
mean?
It's not what she
Yeah.
wants. Yeah.
I found that very interesting because it's like she can't even like play along for the 4 days that they're there. You know?
Because he brought that up when they had that little fight. He's like, you can't play with the kids.
Yeah,
like you can't
I'm
even
being
play with the
weird.
kids for like 5 minutes. Like it's
Stop doing weird shit. He's like, just be normal for like a couple days.
yeah.
No, she's definitely not having it. But we do see the dual side of like this family that appears to be happy, like having arguments at night, and that kind of brings them closer together.
That was a
Axel.
bad argument too. That was bad.
Yeah, and there was this hilarious line where she tells him like, "Do you want to make a baby?" And he's like, "Fuck you."
So funny.
This scene also, I really loved it because it really introduces just how like banging this soundtrack is. Like, I think
Dude.
this is one of the
Had
best
Beyonce
soundtracks
in
I've
it.
seen.
Yeah, I know.
No, actually, that's not Beyonce.
Is it
I thought
not?
It was no, it's somebody named Amiri. But they
Interesting.
sound like
I thought it was
Beyonce.
I really
Beyonce.
did.
I know. I told my wife I thought I was gonna be all cool. I was like, "Look, they're playing Beyonce." She's like, "No,
No, they're not. Oh shit! I was gonna shut up then.
Yeah,
Like, I guess I'm old too now.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't know
thought that
shit.
was Beyonce.
But yeah, I just thought that whole scene was very interesting, and I think that might be one of my favorite parts of the entire movie. For
It's
sure.
beautiful too.
The house is really
That-
nice.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm like that place is really nice.
The
Dude.
cinematography's out of control. in this
Exactly.
movie.
Oh, dude.
I want to bring that up. now.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, like even the opening sequence.
It's incredible. I think there's like two scenes. I mean, this whole movie is beautiful, but the two scenes that really stand out to me, I think, are when she's on her way from Axel's, like she leaves Axel's like function and she's unhappy, and that's when she goes and meets Ivan and she crashes a party. But when she's just looking over like the city of Oslo, oh
nice.
my god,
The
it's
tear
just,
comes out her eye.
dude, what the fuck? It's so good.
Give her an Oscar.
And
One tear.
and obviously like the scene with it when everybody's still, you know what I mean, and she's just running through
I
the
do wanna
city
talk
to get to
about
Ivan.
some-
Yeah, we'll bring that up in
yeah.
detail later. But yeah, dude, cinematography off the chain in this movie.
So we can get to Ivan. I'm Team Axel. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, no,
I
me
mean,
too.
there's
Team
nothing
Ivan.
wrong with Ivan, but he just feels a lot more shallow, I guess, than Axel.
He doesn't fulfill her. Well,
No, he's like a fling.
I will say that before we get a little bit into Ivan, that I am Team Maxwell too, but I think he's just a cooler person. The fact that he like draws the comic, I think is something that
Bobcat.
really like. I liked Bobcat. I liked knowing that at the age group that I am, like that's something that I would have grown up reading,
Yeah.
some raunchy shit like that. And then I really liked how mature he is, though, knowing how, like, in what type of lane that he is. And we even get stuff where he's kind of leaving that behind, and kind of even like I guess, like you would call it, people buying your like idea, and then what that becomes, and kind of seeing what you created become something else, and kind of like the whole issue with that. Like, I really like that dynamic with this
Yeah.
Axel. And
He's got a lot going on.
He does.
And I mean, I'm sure maybe Ivan. It's not that he's not a deep character or anything like that, but they just don't give him as much to do.
Probably.
And he does seem as more of a. He feels like a mistake, which he does end up being.
Mm-hmm.
But, or well, I don't know. Does that feel fair to call him a mistake?
I don't know. I don't honestly.
hard.
I don't think he's a mistake. I don't think the movie makes him out to be a mistake. Like I think that's the whole point of the movie is like they're just different choices.
Yeah.
And like you can't look at them as mistakes. You have to look at them as the choices that you made and grow from that shit. But in the grand scheme of things, I mean, compared to Axel, like you should have stayed with that guy. But like,
You had it all.
I know.
You had the cool flat.
Seriously though,
I mean, Axel's a very complex character as well, which I do like that we got more of him than we did Ivan, because I just felt like they're even if he's treated a little unfairly, like even as he was written, I do think that Axel's just got a lot more going on. Like
I think
they,
so, too.
They put a lot more love into that character.
true.
It seems like, and maybe it's because the director has worked with this actor before. Like I guess this is considered a trilogy of movies that take place in Oslo. Not that they're actually connected, but it's
Got
just-
you.
The trilogy is the
like an
setting and the
apartment type thing. You know, the apartment trilogy.
You know how they'll be like, "Oh, New York is a character in a movie."
Yeah.
Well, for him, it's Oslo. You know what
Gotcha.
I mean? So this is his third movie about this city, and Anders has been in the other two.
That's cool.
He said this is the first time he hasn't played a character that had like mental issues.
Oh, really? He's like, thank you, finally.
I will say that I think part of what resonates or what connects Julie to Ivan is that they are very similar, and then as opposed to Axel and her are the better part of each other.
They're like the opposites attract type of thing.
Exactly. But then Ivan is just like her in terms of their dads are the same. So
Yeah.
if it was up to mine, Ivan has a line where if you ask my dad, I'm only 12 years old.
Yeah.
Because he only
Forgets his
remembers like
birthdays.
his birthdays. And I think that's where in that time of her life, she wanted to resonate with somebody who was just like her. Whether that would work long time or not, I think that's kind of like what you said. You have to see things through sometimes to only find that out. You can't really just halfway go through that and find out. You have to, and she does. And whether he's a mistake, I don't think he's a mistake, but he's a mistake for her. That's what I was going to say.
Fair.
He is cooler though. Like I think he's kind of cooler than Axel. Axel's got some weird vibes.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I think
Small
Axel's a better.
incel vibes.
Yeah, he's a little red pilled as we find out.
No, because I mean, Ivan's shoe game's crazy.
Yeah,
You know what I
Ivan's shoe
mean?
game is
And he
crazy.
rocks a fisherman beanie too. I'm like,
the
respect
drip
my
is out
guy.
of control in this movie.
It
That's
is.
one thing.
It is.
I do think that Ivan is portrayed to be closer to her age. No, like I would assume so.
No, I
He
think
looks a
so.
lot
Yeah,
younger.
because I mean, like, I think that they're both like at the same point of their life. Like, they're both working jobs that aren't going to lead anywhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and they don't. Sure, they have fun together and stuff, but it doesn't seem like they connect on the deeper level that her and Axel do. You know, based on their conversations and everything. But
So with his character, we see that the lady that he was dating before Julie was very like environmentally aware, and
she
then
became
kinda-
woke.
Yeah, she became woke, and then she got him to just become more aware of things, right? And you can see that those things have really stuck with him.
Yeah.
And then Julie says like she likes that because it actually like adds some depth to him. Who's like he's a very shallow person, but him being like environmentally aware kind of makes him like a deeper person, and it kind of gives him a little more substance.
yeah.
Which I think is kind of, I don't think it does, but I can
From her
see
point of
where
view, I guess.
She would
can-
think
yeah,
that.
I can see why she thinks that.
She obviously thinks that he's. I mean, that's the reason they kind of like, you know, their first big fight is over what he read what she had wrote, and he just basically says he's like, well, this is good, and she's like, well, what's good about it?
Like, what
And
do
he
you
just
know?
reads the sentence. He's like, this is well written.
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't know what you're talking about, kind
So
of thing.
I thought that was where he was treated unfairly.
Mhm.
100%.
Where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe he's a little bit of a dunce, but
but why
he's
you
being
flaming the
supportive.
guy?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
So when's the last time you read a book?
Like, and it's true because you got to think like probably Axel would have some profound shit to say. Like, you know what I mean?
He
Like,
definitely did when
and,
she wrote
and
that
after
article.
the Me Too blowjob paper or whatever, like he did. And then compared to what he has to say, like it's just different. And I think she probably misses that, and she flames the dude for it.
But I think it's a resentment of that, like thinking that, damn, I had somebody who had my side would like if they did say it was good, it meant something, but now it just kind of like whether I just think she's still being really an asshole for being because he's just being supportive, but
it was intellectual Viagra when she was with Axel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
and just he's like just intellectual Viagra. I mean, it's It's
I
really
mean,
interesting.
it's not fair for Ivan because it's you are with this guy who's kind of the opposite of your last boyfriend, and then you're going to be really mad that he's not your last boyfriend, where it's like you ended that relationship. So I don't know why you're taking it
You
out.
put
on
yourself
this
in
guy.
this situation.
And one thing I thought was really, he says it in the movie that it's like cruel, and he can't believe she said that to him. Is like, she's like, you're happy serving coffee till you're 50 years old, but she's 30 and works in the
What are
bookstore
you
too.
doing?
It's like
Yeah.
you are on the same exact level as him, but you still look down on him, which is not really fair at all.
No, it's almost more of her projecting. I think you know what I mean.
Which
But
can I bring this up? This is maybe one of the things that made me lose my like suspension of belief in this movie is that they work in a coffee store and a bookshop and they have these really nice flats. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, that's kind of like, is this what's going on outside of America? Because I might need to get some of this.
I need to get him out of here.
It
Yeah,
had, like,
maybe.
it had like sitcom logic, where it's like, how are you like a person who has like a whatever job, but you have this really nice place?
You
You
get-
know
yeah,
what I
you got
mean? Like
this-
Seinfeld,
like
your
your
friends, or
friends,
something
yeah,
like that.
exactly.
We're like, that don't make sense.
No, that don't add up.
to go look at Oslo's prices.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pee because I might have to move there.
That city's beautiful,
Yeah,
dude.
hell yeah.
That city's beautiful, man.
But oh yeah, I just thought that she was really rude to Ivan, and I mean, I
She
get that
was.
he's not the love of your life, but
You don't need to treat him like dog shit. Like that's fucked up.
like, she was nicer to Axel when she left him than she was to Ivan about it. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
for sure.
I just felt like overall she was just more rude to him in general. But Ivan as a character, he does do something for her that Axel doesn't. I think that he is more stimulating, like in a non-intellectual sense. You know what I mean? Like she is a lot more attracted to him. I mean, we find out that Axel is sick later on, but he already looked kind of sickly before he even was. You know, like he's a very scrawny man. You know what I mean? And like Ivan is on the complete opposite end. Like,
Yeah, that dude's like, he's like
chattish.
6'5", he's all cut up. I'm like, damn, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
nice.
Lifting all those lattes. You know?
Exactly.
For real though, they
I didn't waste my
physically look
time
different.
reading, guys, lifting weights.
Exactly.
If I wanted to read the book,
different ends,
I'd
right?
watch the movie.
Definitely those vibes.
Ivan definitely watches the movie. Yeah, we don't read the book.
Axel writes the book.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, one of the funny things I wanted to bring up with Axel was the whole star with this character.
The butthole on
the
the comic strip.
On the comic strip. But I mean, just stuff like that. There's so many funny little instances in this movie, and it's always good to see those comedic breaks in films like this, because I mean, sometimes the language barrier makes it not. You might not land
don't
on
get the
jokes as
timing.
much.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't hit.
Exactly.
Or you can't tell with the tone.
Is it supposed to be a Joker? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but this movie does it really well. And like I like this movie's humor because it's smart and it's witty, and I don't feel like it's over the top. It's not like laugh track humor, you know what I mean? Like it's quick.
No, but there is a couple of moments though. Like, did anybody catch the fart?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
oh,
that's,
yes.
that's really funny.
I-
And she just like goes that. Yeah, that's really funny.
shit's so
There
funny.
is
I
some
just wanted to
moments.
make sure.
Why are fart jokes always
Always so
fucking
funny.
Farting is one of the oldest professions in comedy.
Yeah,
dude. Like there
true.
used to be professional
Farters.
farters.
That's true.
Where did we see that in Benedetto? Right?
Yeah,
the guys
well,
farting
yeah,
on fire.
exactly.
Yeah.
I did learn that actually listening to something about Benedetta, that there was like comedians whose whole thing was farting. Like they would eat certain foods and
So funny.
what the? I mean, I could do that.
I can do that.
Yeah,
Taco Bell.
Why am I podcasting? I should be farting for a living.
But yeah, I did. He brought up and Nate brought up a really good other point where it's not as obvious, but it's when we see the dad had gifted her something for her birthday, and it's the same sweater her younger daughter has. It's like the track.
Yeah, it's like,
His
dude,
youngest
oh my
daughter,
God.
His other family.
Yeah.
Of course he has another family.
And then he just fucking lied about, because he's like, oh, I can't go, my back hurts. And they're like, oh, we were at the tournament all day long. I was like, oh, cool.
yeah,
She's like a goalkeeper, I think.
shithead dads,
yeah.
right? What are you gonna do?
Doesn't say anything. It's like, dude, really? Like, oh
And
my
Axel
God.
actually presses him on.
He
it,
does.
too.
He gets after him.
And I mean, maybe in another movie it would have been more of an argument, but Axel kind of dominates him, to be honest.
he
The
does.
dad's got some very beta vibes.
He ain't got nothing to say. Like,
Yeah, I mean, and Axel's not like this big hulking guy who's very intimidating, but he totally dog walks the dad right in front of her. You know what I mean?
And she's like, stop. He's like, no. Like,
I
let me
mean,
finish. Like,
don't think Ivan would have done that.
That's
No,
what I was
yeah,
gonna say, is I don't
exactly.
And
think
that's
so.
another one of the differences between them is like he's just so much stronger in that mental sense. You know what I mean? And it probably is because of his age as well.
I think so too.
I don't know, man. I think I think they both got it rough in this movie. I mean, and Julie did too. Everybody
Yeah,
was.
no, I mean,
everybody was hurt by the end.
It's
of
not a
this.
super happy movie or anything. It's just, it's realistic.
Everybody's
like,
not happy at the end. Well, I mean, yeah. I guess
One of
Ivan
them's
did.
dead.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's just like one of them died.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a literal pile of body.
She broke his heart so bad she gave him cancer.
yeah, exactly.
He got canceled into cancer, dude.
Do that.
See, actually bringing that up, I thought it was interesting too. Little connection that he says he can't pee, the dad, right? And he's like, "Oh, I went to the doctor and I thought it was pancreatic cancer. It's not." And that's what Axel ends up dying from.
Oh shit! I don't even remember that because I remember that he has cancer, but I kind of just went right over my head as of what
pancreatic,
kind. Because
yeah.
I'm like, okay, you're dying.
Yeah,
I don't care what
Yeah.
kind.
Falling our stars.
I
Oh,
get the
man.
point of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I honestly do want to talk about that part in the movie. I think that's where the movie really does kind of switch up, because I feel like the first 2/3, I guess that's kind of like the last third of the movie, but whatever. Like the first 2/3 of the movie, they're all based on her decisions. Like every decision takes her into this new place, and then you learn about that, and she kind of moves on, right? And then you have the last third of this movie, which is controlled by something that nobody has a control on. And she's forced to deal with something that she cannot control. And I think that kind of ends up shaping probably her view on things and how she progresses when the event takes place. But such a sad part in the movie. Like it really is. Like, I don't know. It made me so sad.
The ending goes well with what Ro said earlier about the movies, like how we usually have like the hero's journey, and by the end they've conquered. But this time around, it's very tragic and sad.
Very.
And we do see the like what all of this is amounted to, and it turns out to be nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like she realizes what she had with Axel, and he's dying, and it's just very sad to see. It's like, damn, we could have had these 4 happy years together, and it would have actually meant something to the both of us. And like right now, I'm dying, and we both just feel empty inside. Even though, I mean, I guess this is a spoiler. It's like she's pregnant with Ivan's baby, and she's also, her ex is dying.
How
like,
fucking soul crushing.
This is where it becomes like, okay, she's definitely not the worst person in the world. Oh my god, Nate. I'm so sorry. Get him off the mic. Get him off the mic.
I'll just show myself out. But no, like for real, like that, just the scene in which they're sitting at the bench and he's kind of just describing how he feels and how he's describing like the fear of death and how he at first he thought maybe it was nostalgic because he keeps thinking about the past, but in reality it's just the fact that he does not have a future anymore. Like it just hit really hard. Like it's really tough. It's really tough.
I think too that this scene shows you that Axel was more like her the entire time than she really gave him credit for.
And I think it's really interesting because, I mean, like, I don't know, like past relationships and stuff, if you ever kind of talk to the person further down the line, you can kind of be open and honest with them and be like, well, what did you really feel here? And I think that's where the relationship is at, is they can just kind of air out everything. And like, that's what I was talking about earlier, is when he kind of says like, when she's like, did you have doubts about having kids? And he's like, of course I did. He's like, but I had to be strong and like, I had to be there for you kind of thing. And it's almost like, if he would have opened up about that, would that have like,
changed,
helped the relationship? It's a lot of what ifs, and it's a lot of,
yeah, because we don't know. Maybe he would have opened up and then she would have been like, you're too much like me and I don't even like myself. So,
or she sees that he has doubt and she's like, she understands that you can have doubt and still want something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like he's confident even though he has his doubts.
Exactly.
Like, I feel like that's a lot of people.
So
like
it's
you could be a non-confident person and have your doubts, but you could also be the other way where it's like, I'm not sure, but I am gonna go.
It's like I'm scared, but I'm fucking doing
this.
He
had his doubts about her, or she had her doubts about herself, but he was the only person to tell her, I think you're gonna make a good mom.
Yeah.
In terms of,
yeah.
And at the end, she wants to hear that again, knowing that she's pregnant from him. And I mean, Ivan never brought it up.
She wishes it was his baby.
Exactly. Exactly.
Ivan didn't want kids either. And I think another really good another sign that I want to bring up in this movie between the relationship between Ivan and her is she leaves with Ivan, and you think she's really happy at this point in the movie, but then she says I love you in bed to her, and we don't get anything back from her. And I think ever since that moment she starts to think again, like, well, I don't live with this guy, because that's what she doesn't say it, but I just like completely left Axel and moved in. Like, I completely changed my life for this guy, but I don't love him. And like, so what do I want if it's not this? And I think ever since that point on forward is when we get resentment from her, like towards Ivan, when we get the lines of her like, oh, you're okay with just living, like staying here and living this life. And I think by the time that we get to like what happens with Axel, the scenes that we're talking about, she comes to full realization that what she wants now is what she had before. And whenever she doesn't have it, it seems that she longs for the past, the same way that because Axel has no future, he's going to long for the past, for the further part of his life or whatever, which is only a couple weeks, it seems like. And I don't know, just some of the things that I thought the storytelling in this movie was really powerful.
Yeah, phenomenal.
I thought the actor who played Axel, Anders Danielsen Lai,
yeah,
that he definitely got snubbed. He should have been nominated too.
He was so
awards.
good.
Like, he really carried this movie.
I think so too.
Like it's the two of them. You know what I mean?
For sure.
It's definitely not Ivan. He is more of a side piece.
No, he is. He's a supporting role.
Yeah, but I thought he didn't get enough love for that performance. That was phenomenal.
Just like they showed so many different sides of like the versatility of actors. I mean, like. You get them when they're happy, and you get them when they're like. I love the part where she's like working out in the gym or whatever, and she sees him on the TV show, and he's getting roasted by the feminists about his movie. Dude. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he got canceled.
And just like it was just a really good scene. Like I really like him in that.
Yeah, I do think too that you see how like the duality of him. Like when he's with Julie, he comes off like this sweet, protective, like loving guy, but then maybe you see him in public, and his public perception is like that of an asshole kind of.
Oh, he's a dick. Yeah.
He's definitely one of those older 40-year-old men talking about your generation and this society that we live in.
Exactly.
And, he's a little red pilled.
Yeah.
I know we said that earlier as a joke, but he kind of is. And I do think that's, I wouldn't say that Julie like likes that about him, but it just shows you like there really is a true difference between how he is with her and then how he is with like the rest of the world.
True.
Because even his friends, I feel like they kind of maybe see him like an asshole as well. Like when the interview happens, they're like, yeah, he kind of went too far. And you know, it's human nature to be like that. But I didn't think that scene really served him well.
No.
I felt like it was kind of weird to throw that in like right before this big reveal that he's gonna die. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was
He got
interesting.
canceled and then he died.
And he died. Like, oh, okay.
Seriously.
Happy days. Jesus.
yeah.
Everything just got worse for him.
Don't get canceled. You will. You will
will
get
die.
cancer. And you will die.
What is the punishment?
I don't know.
Death.
The more that you think about it, do you feel like that was really a good scene to have in the movie, like to change his character? Do you feel like it changes his?
I
character?
don't necessarily think it changes his character. I think it was a good way to show like the changing of time. You know what I mean? Like how things change in, society and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
like I don't know. Cause I mean, from his point of view, like he has a point.
Yeah, he
like
does.
he comes across as a total dick in the interview, but at the same time, like, yeah, it's a fucking raunchy comic strip.
He has an awful way of protecting himself.
Exactly, because I think he gets super defensive about it, which is a very human thing to do.
You
Like,
take it that maybe he's red pill because Julie left him.
dun, dun.
All women are the same. She unlocked the Joker.
She
in them.
superpowered his incel vibes.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I think it really just is telling to the times that we're in, and somebody like him and a very interesting character that he has would probably get criticized, whether how important it would be to his character development. I don't know. It's an interesting scene now that you brought it.
It does
made
feel
me
a
think,
little not misplaced,
but no, just
It is
there's
pretty
no reason.
random.
Why right before he dies?
It is pretty
Or
random.
right before we find out that he's dying. It does just kind of feel like a cut in the story that didn't really like make sense.
It
to me.
kind of, I mean, I guess it's used as a bridge into that. Like, it kind of brings him back into the fold of the movie, and then that's what
yeah.
she brings up to the dude's friend in the bookstore, wherever the hell she sees him. But, I mean, other than that, I don't think it adds anything crazy to the story. I see where you're coming from.
Or I think it's a way to show that he publicly lost it, and so everybody was a witness to it, and maybe made her feel like maybe I should reach out, because it's like this
True.
guy's not going.
It is a
through.
reason to bring them back together.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I will say, hey, this is a PSA from the Grand Cinema Hotel. If you have back pain, get that checked out because you could have cancer.
Exactly. Oh, okay.
So the 90% of you listening to this that probably have back pain, you might want to get that checked out. Make sure it's not
WebMD.
cancer and you got jaundice in the back.
I thought I was glowing. I thought I looked good.
That looks good. No, this tan is killer. Man. We should have died.
I woke up with this shit. Oh my god.
Yeah, dude. I thought that was
Fuck.
such a what a gut punch for him, right?
Yeah.
Like what? I'm God's lonely man. Like,
For
he got-
real though.
I will say that I knew this movie might have gotten nominated the second that he started bringing up other movies inside the movie, because I was like,
Oh,
oh, they
yeah.
eat that up. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? He brings up The Godfather too.
Yeah.
He's like, how many times can you watch Dog Day Afternoon?
Yeah.
For what other movie he brings up in the
Lynch.
beginning. Yeah, he talks about watching Lynch movies. That's just a
He's
little
like, damn,
interesting.
my life's kind of Lynchian.
Isn't this crazy?
It's like an episode of Twin Peaks.
I like when she first walks into the room where he's staying at in the hospital. He's like jamming out. You know?
Yeah, he's
Yeah, I did
getting
think
it
that was cool.
with the jeans on. He's like, I'm still a person.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
really have anything to back this, but I feel like the Axel character is maybe like an analogy for like Joachim Trier himself.
Maybe.
I don't know. I get the same vibe from them. You know what I mean? Because I was looking into the director and like his past, and he was like a punk. He was like punk, and he's like comics and he skated and stuff.
I
So
see.
he just gave me like heavy.
That
like,
makes sense.
Okay, I think maybe Axel's supposed to be like a version of him
him.
instead of him being in his own movie, like he who will not be named.
I'd be interested to see maybe in the Oslo trilogy. That's what the bigger theme is. Is like there's themes of him inside like each one of the
Maybe.
characters.
Because he did say that for someone who made a movie about the same place 3 times, that he doesn't know how to do it from like a history about the city, or like it's not a story that is really relevant to taking place in the city. It's just the place that he's from. So he likes to tell these different stories taking place
In Oslo.
there, not really like trying to say something about the city.
Oslo, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's cool that he's done that.
I think it's
I
cool
think
too.
Oslo looks sick.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to fucking go there. That place is awesome,
This
dude.
movie made me want to go.
You want to go get your heart broken in Oslo?
Maybe not that, but
One thing I thought, like, getting back to the humor a little bit, I thought it was interesting that she just crashed a wedding party and that no one ever asked who she was.
and she was stomping people out, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, oh my god. Do you cuddle your kids? Yes. Well, they're gonna be drug addicts.
Yeah.
Like, bro, what?
Okay, so it's like, obviously that's a joke, and I think what Rose said earlier about the language barrier makes sense, where you're like, your tone and the way that it's like said, I can't tell if you were even joking or not.
I honestly,
But I do get that it's funny.
I don't think that I don't know, because that blonde lady was so taken aback. Like, she was like, what do you
who
mean?
says
Like,
that?
yeah,
That's
exactly.
why.
I'm a doctor. No, you ain't. you a liar.
You like to throw that card around for someone who thought it was too concrete.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
No, I'm a doctor.
So from a medical perspective,
Bro, ask me how many people I know here. Nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa, you're crazy.
it's wild.
Let me watch you pee.
I mean, it
Like,
made sense to me after once her and Ivan start having their their conversation. That's like, okay, he must know her, right? He brought her or something. But the way she just waltzed into that party was wild to me, because I was like, isn't Axel gonna ask where you were all night? Like, you said you were going home and then just show up the next day.
I would be sus.
I got lost.
Like, where were you?
Yeah, what the fuck?
I know no one ever questions where she was,
No.
right? Because like even later on, when she's back with Axel, like spending time with them, Ivan never even questions like where she was.
Because I'd be like, is that just what happens when you get like older? Like, you just
I'm
stop
leaving, bye.
asking and like, because I would be like, where were you? Why do you smell like cigarettes? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that was kind of throwing me off too. I'm like, there's no confrontation between like where are you going for all these long periods of time,
Yeah.
like between either of them.
Sure.
I don't know, man. She has a way with these men.
I
right?
guess so,
There's-
yeah. Some drive my car shit, bro. Like, just do you, baby. I don't give a fuck.
She's a player.
I will say before we go, I did want to bring up the scene that we talked about, which is a scene that we've seen all the trailers for.
The day the earth stood still.
Yeah. So I think that's like infatuation probably hasn't, to me personally, I don't think I've ever seen it done better on film. Basically, it's just she stops the world to go and meet Ivan after realizing that I guess that she wants to be with him. The whole world stops, and I guess like
For Ivan?
if you've been in that type of situation or felt that way about anybody before, it feels that way. You think it feels that way at least. And so this movie does that. But what I found really interesting was that I kept wondering how they did it. And a lot of it is really just trained
stood
actors.
still,
Just
bro.
People saying it really just not interesting.
That's interesting.
What was the challenge a couple of years ago?
The mannequin challenge.
No. Nailed
All those
it.
people got cast.
But I did think was interesting when they were talking about it was that they said people in Oslo, because this happened when it was in the pandemic, so a lot of people were inside. And this was like the first thing that had happened around the city where people were looking out of the window and like, there's something happening out there, they're doing something. And so people would come down and just join in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty
the more
cool.
that Renat kept going through more scenes, there was more people in them, but it's because people were like, oh, we could do that. Let's
That's
just go
pretty
stand
cool.
there, and they were like 5 feet apart or whatever. And like, I just thought it was really interesting because that scene's very, very well done. It's an iconic scene. It probably will be for a long time. And it just, even how it was composed seems to have so
Yeah.
much like mystique around it.
That really is like the scene of the movie, I feel like. You know what I mean? It's really good.
That and the trip scene that I think we kind of talked about, but
questionable.
questionable.
That's not what happened. It's a fun.
Allegedly, some of us know what that's like. And
Fuck you,
fiction,
CIA.
and I won't say who. Bro. No, but yeah, definitely an exaggerated portrayal.
It's a fun scene though. Like,
That's what
I do
they
think
said.
it's a lot of fun. It's
I-
cool. It's honestly pretty unsettling at times. Like the old lady fat suit. It's like, dude, that's
Is it because the menstrual blood on her face?
no. It's
No?
the old lady being felt up by like 100 dudes. That's a lot.
That was I said it earlier off pod, but that was the one time where I felt like I was seeing something amateur, because it's like you made this like hideous. Oh well, that sounds awful. But you made this fat suit, right, of this old person, and then you put it on her, and then you didn't even have the decency to cover up
The neck scene?
Yeah, like the neck. Like, come on, man. You
I didn't. I got to go back and watch that because I didn't
the
notice
whole body
it.
is nasty. Did X teach you nothing? That's a bias.
Oh my god!
Have not seen Nocturnal Animals. That's art. What are
Oh
you
my
talking about?
god!
No, but I mean, yeah, obviously maybe not depicted very well off the drug that they're using, but very effective scene nonetheless.
Baby shrooms.
Julie doesn't even seem like somebody who's done drugs up to this point in the movie. Honestly, I don't think I'd even seen her. Yeah, she bums a cigarette to get into the party, but besides that, maybe just some alcohol. She takes these drugs and then kind of just does go through some things that she has to see, which I think in artists and all type of venues usually have that realization once they do. I've read that a lot. They do drugs and come to a realization.
I love that chapter. The title of that chapter is what Julie's narcissistic circus. Like I'm like it's just so fitting.
Yeah, she definitely didn't have the ego death.
No.
It only got worse after
Exactly.
that.
Exactly.
I did see one thing that was part of that scene that made me think it was an homage to a certain video of a woman maybe putting a tampon. I don't know if you guys remember that video from maybe 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
I pray to God
yeah.
that video was fake, scarred for life. But seeing that in the movie was just. No, I wouldn't say it was uncomfortable. I just thought it was hilarious.
It was
funny,
funny.
It was funny.
She takes a tampon out, she throws it in her dad's face.
Yeah. War marks herself.
She war marks herself.
That's just so funny in the morning because Ivan's like, "Hey, you should probably go take a shower." She's like, "Oh, what's wrong? Am I dirty?" And he's like, "Oh shit, I got blood
yeah,
all over
bit.
my face."
Yeah.
blood on your face.
Putting it lightly.
No, that scene was cool though. I liked the way it was shot with the. I wonder how they did it. I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, they probably just moved the camera to the side, but it would have been cool if if they had done it in an older way, like the set's kind of built a little sideways.
That would be cool.
No, but I'm sure they didn't. The way this movie was shot doesn't give you the confidence that it was like this really expensive movie. It seems like they made do with what they have, which is like a beautiful city.
Yeah.
So perfect.
Yeah.
You got that down. On the cinematography level, I thought the lighting was amazing in this
Incredible.
movie because it doesn't look real, but it's like some of the most powerful like window lighting that's supposed to look natural that I've seen in a long time. And do you know if this was shot on film, Ro?
I'm not sure.
It looks like
It
was.
does
And
look like it.
If it wasn't, it must have done the same thing the Batman did, where it
Running
was
through
shot
the-
on digital and then ran through
See if I
film.
can find out real quick.
But the way that they like, there's a certain shot of Julie coming back from like the bathroom and into the kitchen, and she's talking to Ivan, and her face is just lit up so beautifully, and it's just like some top tier cinematography right there. I thought this movie had a very intimate look. Like the look of it was intimate, you know what
For sure.
I mean? And I do think if it was on film, that's probably why, because film just has this way of doing that. And especially since it takes place in like 4 years of her life and it's kind of like a story. It is shot on film?
It is shot on film.
Yeah,
Okay,
nice.
perfect. So I think the film really adds that. It helps with the like perception of time, because film always makes things look a little older than they are, or like
does.
you are seeing a story versus digital where it would have looked just maybe more flat. Yeah, I don't know.
That's
I
a
don't
good
really
way
know
to
what I'm trying to
describe
say.
it. No,
just-
I
it
agree with
looked-
you.
it
That's a
looked
good way to
really
describe
intimate
it.
and beautiful.
Yeah.
Digital usually tends to be, for some reason, I think I got that from the Batman, Matt Reeves talking about it. I'd never been able to really put my finger on it, but too clean, too flat. It doesn't seem to be much depth. You add a little bit of grain, and it seems like there's a mood.
Yeah, it doesn't
there.
pop. There's no pop to it.
Yeah. I mean, whether that's just human to think that just it not looking as clean is a pop, I don't know. But maybe I do think it just comes down to, like, in nature, things don't look that clean. Anything that we look at does not look that clean.
it adds
So
character.
it almost doesn't seem real. But going back to what you're saying, I think very effectively it immerses you into the story, which is what we keep bringing up with a lot of these movies, which I think is why I like film, like movies being shot on film. And the lighting, like you just said, it just looks so much cooler, like certain lights and how our characters are lit, and they almost look like they're angelic in a way in some point.
Yeah.
I love the scene where they're towards the end of Axel's like life, when Julie's taking pictures of him when he's looking out the windows that he used to look at when he was a kid. And like, I don't know, I think the shadows in that scene are really cool. And then when they're actually like filming out the color glass, like it's just really cool. I like that
I
part.
think my favorite shot might be the opening one of Julie standing there in the black dress, and she's perfectly framed in the middle of the screen, and you just have this beautiful backdrop of Oslo, and everything looks like so saturated, and it's the film doing that. Like, it wouldn't look as good if it was digital, in my opinion.
I think
I'm
so.
pretty sure me and Ro share that opinion for sure. But just right there, the way it reminded me of like how Phantom Thread looked, where it's like, dude, this looks
Jesus.
so dreamy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, where yes, this is her life that we're looking at, and it's being told in this this way of like being like a book, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of how they're
It
trying
is.
to
Yeah.
portray it, like it's a book. It really just added to it, you know? Like, it didn't feel real, even though we were seeing something so real.
Big facts.
Yeah, I don't know. I just really enjoyed this movie overall.
Yeah.
I ended up thinking even that scene they were talking about, like her black dress looks just different. Like really, it's just a simple dress, but it just looks very like I don't know,
Looks a lot more elegant, right?
Yeah, it's just the way that it shines, and I didn't even really think about it being shot on film. I think that's just the magic that it does. Just the colors. You made a good point. That first scene is really, really good. It's hard for me to pick a favorite scene in this. There's so many good ones. The one that you brought up when she's looking at Oslo and then walks down before that. Because I like rewinded it yesterday watching it, like that scene, because I wanted to know if there's something she sees that makes her cry. But it's almost like the beauty of the city itself and like realizing that like, I don't know, the time is passing by and you might not be happy.
This city's a labyrinth.
No,
But, yeah.
I do think that's probably my favorite scene, or at least my favorite shot. And I really do enjoy. I wanted to bring this up. So like the what we were talking about earlier, the scene where everybody stands still and she runs to Ivan and she's just kind of going through the city. I feel like that's almost like a direct parallel towards the end of the movie after she gets the call that Axel's dying. And she kind of runs through the city, but there's nobody there. And instead of the daytime, it's nighttime, and it's almost like those are the two times where her world is like completely stopped. You know, it's this, and it's the idea of this brand new thing that is gonna start and be happy and be great, and then at the end, it's the end of something that was beautiful. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
I just really like that.
It's really nice.
The running in this movie, she does run quite.
Yeah,
well.
She do.
runs a lot.
Maybe that's why PTA liked it so much. Sensible brunette women running through the street. I like that.
I kept thinking, once you brought it up, and then yesterday I was watching, I was like, maybe he likes this movie so much because he was like, that's why I like Alana. Like the look, be like,
Yeah.
I would replace her with Renat. Like, but I don't know.
He
It's
just
interesting.
loves some
Yeah.
straight brown hair girls.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
She's
guess.
definitely going to be in one of his movies.
Yeah.
One
Dude,
day.
there's no way. She's the only person that speaks Norwegian in it. Too.
She is such a big fan of him too.
That's cool.
That's what I was
Mutual.
reading.
Movie's coming. I'm telling you. He's gonna jack her from Joe Cheem.
Yeah, seriously.
Give me that. That's mine now. I'm making movies with her. Oh man. What that scene of her running through Oslo and time standing still, I thought the funniest moment was when the couple's making out on the stairs and she puts the woman's hand on the guy's butt and she winks at the camera and takes off running.
That was really funny.
There's
That was
a
really
few
cool.
moments in this movie where it becomes meta and we like, does she realize she's in a movie or does she know that she's in a story?
Breaking the wall, yeah.
She broke the fourth.
Are we getting a How I Met Your Mother? Is she telling her own story in the
Maybe.
future with a different voice?
Yeah.
I like it. Maybe.
Like,
I wonder what's going on.
It's her in the fat suit.
It's her in the fat suit. 100%. That's the new canon. We're going with that. Let's get on Wikipedia and edit that shit right now.
Hop on that bitch.
In the extra prologue that you didn't see.
Film theory dropping tonight.
Yeah, did you stick around for the post-credit scene where we find out that was her in the fat suit?
When she was talking, the voice, it was her in the fat suit.
Did you know?
Everybody knows when you get older, your voice changes completely. You become Bob Saget. Yeah, everybody knows this.
R.I.P. Bob.
All right, guys, you ready to wrap this up? I mean,
Yeah.
I could probably honestly keep going. I know we say that all the time, but I had such a good time with this movie.
Yeah, you have final thoughts? Anything?
I do hope it wins over Drive My Car.
I do
in
too.
In the best internet.
I'm gonna be rooting for it tonight. I really will.
I think you brought it up last week.
Oh,
or no,
I feel weird saying that.
2 weeks ago, when we did talk about Drive My Car, like there's a lot of all the international buzz went to Drive My Car, and it might have to do with. Wait, Drive My Car's neon too, right? Or no? No, right? It's its own thing.
I think it's its own thing.
It could be. I don't know.
I'm not
I'll get on
positive.
that. I'll
So and I actually don't think it's not, but what I was gonna say is that maybe that has to do with the Neon has a very interesting release sometimes with some of their movies. This being one of them about when it became available, and the other one being Memoria. But I was gonna say that maybe there wasn't enough time for this film to get hype because to me this one spoke to me more than Drive My Car. did.
Drive My Car was not neon.
No. Okay.
It does feel like one though, right?
It does. Oh, I just thought maybe they had picked up American distribution of it. Is why I thought so.
I don't
But
see it anywhere on here.
I think they're their own, whatever in Japan's just gonna distribute it all the way.
Yeah, it's
through.
called Bitter's End.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's probably the distribution company.
But what I was gonna say is maybe Neon didn't do such a good job of, kind of talking about this movie, because I just think a lot of like we're talking about, our favorite director really likes this movie, and the hype that it does have seems to be from all the people that I really agree with their opinions on or really look up to. So I hope this film wins something. I hope it's Drive My Car, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I won't be upset if Drive My Car wins.
No, I won't.
But
No, I mean, I wouldn't be mad.
It's a good film.
Yeah, I think my final thoughts probably, I think a lot of people might kind of see this movie maybe as like cynical in a way, like especially on the surface level. But I think that, life isn't necessarily like this big present wrapped up in a bow, you know what I mean? And I think the more that you like we've talked about, like the more that you look into this movie and actually talk about and digest the themes behind it, I think it's beautiful. And I think it's just about, finding yourself and figuring out what makes you happy and what happens along the way. And I just think it's a relatable movie for a lot of different reasons.
Many different ways.
A lot of different reasons, like different characters, different situations. Like, it's just a really good one. I'm so happy that we can finally watch it. You know what I mean?
Maybe you're an Axel, maybe you're an Ivan. If
Yeah.
you're an Axel,
Maybe
how are
you're
you
a
listening
Julie.
to this if you're dead.
maybe you did. Don't forget to subscribe. But
Beyond the grave.
But no, this movie was, I fucking loved it. In my head, it's a perfect movie. I can't wait to watch it again. And I like we said, I hope it wins some shit, and I hope that it gets the credit that it deserves.
I think if you don't like this movie, it would just be because you find her so incredibly frustrating.
Probably.
Or it's hitting you too hard.
Or yeah, you
You're
can't.
like, this happened to me.
Yeah, exactly. There's really are parts of it for everybody. I think it's great.
Or you don't subscribe to the lifestyle. You don't think that you don't think that's you don't think that's like a
Soundbite that way. You don't subscribe to the lifestyle.
you just don't think that's a realistic depiction of life,
Yeah.
Maybe you think that well, she had it all. Why didn't she just stay with him? Like there's no movie. There you go, done. Movie done. But I think this is one of the movies that lets you know that it's okay to not know things, and it's okay to go through the tribulations of life and not know where you're going, and that's actually more normal than you might think it is.
I think my final thoughts for this movie, it actually relates to a Morrissey song called Alma Matters, and he has a line in the song talking about it's my life to ruin my own way, and I think that's Julie.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's how I would
Exactly.
describe Julie
Exactly.
and what this movie is. Yeah. Anything else, guys?
I think I'm good.
You said perfect.
Yeah,
It's a
fucking
perfect
5
movie
out of
for
5,
me.
10
Yeah,
out of
it's a
10.
five.
It's a perfect one for me.
I agree.
Yeah.
So if you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe. If you've seen this movie, tell us how you feel. Are you Julie? Are you one of the guys in this movie? Are you just an innocent bystander caught up in this shit?
Were you one of the people standing still on the street like, what the fuck's going on?
Are you still there? Did you get stuck in time?
Are you the family member who gets hit on the light bulb, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I was just kicking it, and all of a sudden, everybody wants to do some fun shit.
I got fucked up.
We went too far. It always happens.
Yep. We were roughhousing and somebody got hurt. All right, guys. We're out.
Fuck
Later.
the Oscars.
Fuck the Oscars. Bye.